Hi, this is Aaron Burgoyne from Spotlight Accounting. Today I wanted to do a video on reconciling accounts. Now you'll want to reconcile accounts um, to make sure that everything that you've entered into QuickBooks lines up with what actually happened. So for example, as you're going along with, you have expenses, you have deposits, and they're coming in and out, they're going in and out of your checking account, for example. You want to compare all of what's in QuickBooks, those deposits and those expenses, everything that goes in and out of your checking account. You want to compare that with the bank statement. And QuickBooks has a tool to allow you to do that comparison to make sure that you're not missing anything or that you haven't put something in there extra that should not be in there. Doing a monthly or quarterly reconciliation is definitely recommended to make sure that your books are accurate. To reconcile, go to the plus icon and go down to, the gear icon, and then under Tools you can go to Reconcile. You can also, instead of doing it that way, you can go down to Accounting and then to Reconcile. Both of them go to the same place. Now you select the account that you want to reconcile. We're going to do the checking account. And it's best to have the bank statement here with you while you do the reconciliation, either in printed form or if you're looking at it online, you can have it on a different window. But it's best to have them there so that you can make this comparison. So put in the ending balance. So let's say that the last time we reconciled was January 31st. This would show the beginning balance would be as of that date, as of January 31st. And then the ending balance, so you look at the February statement, double check that the beginning balance in February matches the January 31st statement, or January 31st balance. And then for the ending date, you'll put the end of February, or whenever the statement is. Sometimes they go from like the 21st to the 20th, or whatever it is. Put the statement ending date and the ending balance of that. And let's just say, for example, that it's going to be 6,000. Our numbers aren't going to match up exactly because this is a fictitious company, but it should match up on yours. So put in the ending balance as of that ending date of your statement, double check that the beginning balance matches up, and then click Start Reconciling. Now this, I'm going to get rid of some of these. That's QuickBooks trying to introduce you to how to do it. So this is all of the unreconciled transactions up through the end of February, which is the statement ending date. So it shows any payments, it shows any deposits, and you'll want to go through the bank statement and match up to make sure that these are included in that. And as you find them on the bank statement, you'll want to check them off. And yeah, we'll go ahead and select all of them because most of them will be checked. Some of them, however, for example, if there's an expense that you did on the, let's say on the 27th of February, you entered the expense, but the cash actually didn't come out of your account until March 2nd. Then you would not want to include that in this reconciliation because that would be on March's reconciliation. So the expense may show it here, but we may leave it unchecked because it has not left the account yet. Similarly, if there was a check, this happens all the time with checks. You're writing a check in 1 month and it's not cashed until the next month. It doesn't hit your bank statement until next month. Those ones you would also leave unchecked, and you would then check them the next month when you do the reconciliation next month. As you go through it, you'll notice a few things. So how we up here, so this is where we get the statement ending balance. This is the balance that you had entered in, and this is the balance that was already there from the last time you reconciled. And so logic shows that if you take the beginning balance, you subtract payments, you add deposits, then you should get the statement ending balance. And that's what this number is just the difference between these here. But it's nice to have it broken up so that as you're comparing with the bank statement, you can see what the amounts are. A lot of bank statements will show these amounts. It will show that over the course of February, there were $7,070.35 in payments, and there were $3,271 and 35 cents in deposits. And so if you're trying to reconcile and things look off, you'll want to compare with the payments and the deposits to say, okay, is this accurate or is this accurate? You know, where am I off? You can use this little arrow here to shrink that up a little bit, and so it just shows what the difference is. So this is the amount that we still have to reconcile. Again, since this is a fictitious company, this is not going to get to be zero. But what you'll want to do is double check all the transactions on the bank statement and make sure that they are included, that all of them are included here. And if there's anything extra on here that is not on the bank statement, you'll have to figure out why, so that you don't have an extra expense on your books that you actually never paid. Either that means you need to pay it, or it will be paid next month, you know, like we talked about, or it shouldn't be there at all. Maybe it's a duplicate transaction, or maybe you had mistakenly you'd put in the wrong amount, and so it should be actually $45.55 instead of $54.55. So you'll want to do a little bit of investigating to figure that out. As you're going along through these, you may find that it's simpler to only look at the payments. A lot of bank statements will split up the payments section apart from the deposit section, so you can look at only the payments and look through them. You can look at only the deposits, or you can look at all of them. You can also come over here to the filter, and if you have a significant number of transactions, you'll want to filter down so that you can find certain transactions, and you can filter based on amount. So for example, if I typed in this $54.55 and then clicked apply, then it shows all the transactions that are for that amount. You can click X and it takes off that filter. You can do date ranges if you want to look specifically between that last week. Then you can narrow down the transactions that occurred during that time. The default is to end as of the statement ending date. In some cases, you may want to actually extend that a little bit. So you could go 5 or 6 days out after the statement end date, because oftentimes it will, and it doesn't look like we have any transactions entered during that time, but there may be transactions that you hadn't entered in QuickBooks until a few days later, but it still shows on your bank statement. So you'll want to make sure to include those. Reconciling can take some practice. One way that you can make it easier is to link up your bank feeds to QuickBooks. As you go to, and we're going to be navigating away from the reconciling for the moment. I'll click here on banking. If you have bank feeds set up, you will be able to kind of reconcile as you go throughout the month. For example, in these cases, the banking tab, it brings in the transactions from your bank statement, and you can set it up so that you put it in a month at a time or a week at a time, manually importing them, or you can have it automatically set up on the bank feed. I prefer the automatic bank feed, so that within a few hours or a day of the transaction, then it shows it here in the bank feed. So, and this is a completely different list than what you've actually entered into your books. Any deposits, payments, expenses, bills that you've put in your books, it's completely separate from this list here. Now you can add them to your books from this list, and that's what this add button is over here. And I want to go too much into this banking tab right now, but as it pertains to reconciling though, you'll want to look for these matches. This is where the transaction that was imported from the bank statement, from the bank feed, they found where it matches in the books. For example, this one here shows check 75. The books show that we have a record of check number 75 going to Hicks Hardware for that amount on that date. Well, the bank feed brought over that on that date there was a transaction. It might show check 75 and for that amount, and so QuickBooks is saying, hey, I think I found a match. This matches up with it, so you don't want to duplicate it. If you had clicked add on this, it would add it again, and we don't want that. You want to match it. And so if I match a few of these, and then, so I just matched maybe 5 of them, and then if we go back to the reconciling, resume reconciling, then you'll notice this transaction here. So this shows that we had matched it to a transaction that was already in the books. So this makes it a lot easier. If you do that with all the bank feeds, the transactions in the bank feed, then it makes it really easy to reconcile, because everything here has the box next to it, and if there's no box, then it might be a duplicate, or you'll want to find out some other reason why it's not there. But that makes it a lot easier to reconcile. Let me show you one other thing. Let's go back to banking. Let's say, no, I don't want this. Okay, let's say that instead of matching, I actually just added it separately. And this you might have done, you might have added it before, mistakenly added it before there was a transaction. You actually added the transaction into your books. But anyway, so this would be a duplicate. So let's add that, and we can see how it shows on the reconciling. So let's see, what was the amount that I just did? Here it is. So 218.75. You'll see that there's 2 of them. One of them came from the bank feed. This is the one that we added from the bank feed, and this is the deposit that we had put in separately. You'll see, so it's duplicate. So you don't want to have both of them. You only want to do one of them. The other transaction you should probably delete. Now, if it were me, I probably have more information on the one that I created than the one that came in from the bank statement. You might have attached documents to it, or you might have a better description of what it is. Because when you add it from the bank statement, it only shows whatever the default is, unless you made any changes on it. But my preference would be to keep this one. So in that case, I would want to, here's how I would fix it. You go back to banking, you go to the reviewed tab, and you'd find the ones that you had just added, which is right here, the 218.75. So you'd go to the review tab, and then you'd undo that transaction. So that uncreates, if that's a word, it uncreates that deposit that it had added. And so now it's back in the feed. And so then you can match it to that other transaction instead of adding it which would be a duplicate. So, and then hopefully when you're done reconciling and you've figured it all out, then this difference will be 0, and you'll be able to click the button that says finish or complete or something like that. Can't remember what it says, but and then your books will be reconciled up through that date. In this case, February 28th, 2019. And then you'll want to double check on the ones that you didn't reconcile to see if they will be reconciled in the future, or if they're duplicative or a mistake and that they need to be cleared out. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and share with other bookkeepers that do their own bookkeeping. I'll see you next time.